Hey there, Gavitt students. This is Mr. Trottier, and this is a reading strategy tutorial. So in this video, you will learn first how to use the visualize strategy to help you improve your reading comprehension. And to do that, we're going to learn how to use a double entry journal. My examples today will come from Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. We know that authors purposely use descriptive language to help their readers make a mental image of what's happening in the story. It's all about creating the movie in your mind. When you get into a good reading flow, you'll start to create that movie in your mind and you won't want it to end. That's actually why I like reading more than I like seeing a movie. When you're watching a movie, they've got all the images on the screen for you. I kind of like the imagination workout I get when I read, because it lets me let my imagination wander and make my own images. One way that authors will get us to make pictures in our brain is by including imagery in their sentences. So let's look at a few examples. This first one says, the sky was turning the color of a fresh bruise. Well, I know what a fresh bruise looks like. It's kind of that purpley brown color, maybe a kind of dark and kind of faded. Well, I'm picturing that color in the sky, and maybe it's starting to get dark out, maybe nighttime, early nighttime. And another thing that the author does is, I don't know about you guys, but I associate pain or something that hurts with a fresh bruise. So this image of the sky looking like a fresh bruise isn't making me feel very good. So the author's helping me kind of create an uneasy feeling. The second sentence, I clutched the rail and stared into the green waves, contemplating the fish that might soon be enjoying my breakfast. Well, this sentence tells me, especially this last part, it tells me that the person who's speaking is getting seasick. And I'm imagining this person staring off of a big giant boat, and they're looking at all of these green waves, and the waves are kind of crashing into each other. That's kind of what I'm picturing, because I see this kid and he's seasick. So that's kind of what I would picture. And then let's look at this last sentence. I bolted outside and down the crumbling brick steps, screaming, "Wait, stop!" So as I'm picturing this, someone who's screaming, "Wait, stop!" As I see them running out of the house or the building that they're in, I kind of see them acting kind of frantic. So the words that tell me that are the words bolted and screaming, and the way that they screamed, "Wait, stop," kind of tells me that this person's frantic, and I'm picturing the crumbling brick steps, maybe some broken bricks laying on the edges. So now that we know what to look for when we're trying to visualize our stories, let's do an example from Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. I'll read the paragraph out loud, then I'll show you how to set up your double entry journal. First, follow along with me as I read. I gathered what scrawny courage I had and waded through waist-high weeds to the porch, all broken tile and rotting wood, to peek through a cracked window. All I could make out through the smeared glass were the outlines of furniture, so I knocked on the door and stood back to wait in the eerie silence, tracing the shape of Miss Peregrine's letter in my pocket. I'd taken it along in case I needed to prove who I was, but as a minute ticked by, then too, it seemed less and less likely that I would need it. In order for us to show what we know, we're going to make our double entry journal now to track our progress with the visualize strategy. So first you need to take a page of your journal and you need to fold it over in half like this. Make sure that there's a nice crease down the middle and then open it up. And you should make a couple lines here to make a T-chart. One line down the middle of your page and then one line across the top. Now on one side I included what the author says, and the other I said what I visualize. So I just took sentences from my reading book that I really liked and that made me visualize something, and then I put them on this side. For example, this first one says, I gathered what scrawny courage I had and waded through waist-high weeds to the porch. And this is the drawing that I included of the visualization I was having. I've got this boy, Jacob, who's the protagonist of the story. He's walking through these really tall weeds, and he sees the door up front, and here's the porch, and a little window over here, and it's kind of cracked. You can't really see it, but I'm not a great artist. So I don't expect you guys to be either. These pictures can be as detailed or as not detailed as you want them to be, just as long as you know that this sentence was something that made you visualize the movie in your mind, and this is the picture that you kind of want to go along with it. My second example is all I could make out through the smeared glass were the outlines of furniture. So I imagined Jacob looking through the broken glass of the window and just seeing kind of like these just outlines of furniture through the window. Then my last one, so I knocked on the door and stood back to wait in eerie silence, tracing the shape of Miss Peregrine's letter in my pocket. It kind of sounds like Jacob's nervous. So I drew a picture of him standing on the porch, and again, it's a stick person, wearing a pair of shorts, and he's kind of holding this letter in his pocket or in his hand. And he's knocking on the door, and his face is one that looks kind of uneasy, or at least to me. So that's how you would set up your double entry journal. To recap, students, you should look for the author's use of imagery to help guide you with that movie in your minds. To help you do that, you should monitor your progress using a double entry journal. Let's give this a try in class and see how we do.